Aloha from Maui, Hawaii. My name's Rob Webb, the founder of Nonprofit Campaigns, and I want to welcome you to this week's edition of our live forum on nonprofit fundraising and board development, where we will discuss founding and sustaining your nonprofit organization. My guest today is Rose Solorzano. I hope I said that last name right. Did I?
You did great. You did great. It's a tough name.
Well, you've got a lot of experience. You're the founder and executive director of a new nonprofit named Kinship Development. My apologies in the promotion. I called it Kinship Partners. I don't know where that came from.
It's still in the same spirit. It's all good.
Yeah. Our other guest that is with us today is Karen Cantor. She is the development director of Angels of America's Fallen, which is it says error go live. I don't know what that meant, but I've just got some weird error thing. I clicked that all out. We should be going in doing great. Where was I? Karen is the development director of Angels of America's Fallen, a $1 million nonprofit organization that has only been founded 8 years ago. So this is kind of a show for the founders, and you are our success story, Karen. Welcome to the group today.
Yay! Thank you so much.
So we're going to have fun. A couple things. I want to welcome our guests, our viewers who are coming into the room. They could be coming in from either Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are. Please type in your name and say hello in the comments section. And I'm going to post in here as well. Boom, there it is. Yes, welcome. Please introduce yourself and your nonprofit and post this month's hashtag of the month. Actually, it's this summer's hashtag of the month, fundraising success, because that is what we are here to achieve. Nonprofit fundraising is success. And we want to look forward to seeing your name in there. We want to welcome you. We want to hear your questions later on. So please go in there and say hello. Let us know who you are. Let us know where you are. I'm saying aloha because I'm in Maui, but you might want to say howdy, whatever the good eye, whatever that might be in your area.
Hola.
And hola. Oh yes, yeah. We got an hola in there. Very good. I spent a lot of time in Mexico, and we have some clients down there, so I love that. Okay, so what else are we going to talk about here before we get going? As I said earlier, Rose, you were just starting your nonprofit. And I know you had sent me some questions and things that you wanted to talk about. Let's start off with you, Rose. Give us your biggest concerns right now, and let's back up. Tell us a little bit about your mission and what your nonprofit achieves, and where you're at in the journey, and how we can help you today.
Yeah, so the nonprofit was created in order to serve the underserved and to serve the marginalized communities by offering them counseling, coaching, and some consultation services that are all within the purpose and spirit of building unity and community. And I call that kinship, right? So I call it, I'm very family oriented. So of that birth, the idea of this kinship culture. And so it also derived from seeing what happens in families when we're not connected and we're not really able to or understand how to be with each other in a quality way sometimes. And we have so many different perspectives, right? So how do we bring some unity to that? That's been my lifelong efforts since 20 years ago. And now I'm honored to bring this work into our communities to see where we can create some bonding agents out there, if you will. So I hope that makes sense.
Very good. And you are also a doctoral candidate. You are working on your thesis. And when we, in about a year, we're going to call you Dr. Rose, right?
That's right.
All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, moving down to Karen, this is kind of like the Hollywood Squares. We get more people in here, someday we're going to get 9 guests, right? It's going to be like the Brady Bunch, and I'll look up and, look down, and we'll have Alice in the middle. Tell us about you, Karen. You've got a very interesting story as well, and your nonprofit, Angels of America's Fallen.
Thank you. Yeah, so we are Angels of America's Fallen, and we honor our fallen by supporting the dreams of their children. So we build supports around children who have lost their fallen hero parent. So that could be due to military service, combat, illness, so often to PTS-related suicide. But we also support our community heroes as well. So firefighters, police officers, EMS, dispatch, and first responders, because that same type of loss is very similar to the loss that children feel in the military. So my background, I served in the military myself. And so this is
And you were an athlete as well.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you can see my boo-boos. This is what happens. Yeah. So I served in the military. I was an athlete for them, as well as did some clinical work. I was a mental health provider. There was an incident while I was serving where we had a young Marine who was not making the best decisions for himself. And he truly believed he was supposed to have died in the Gulf War. So it's kind of aging me. This was during the Gulf War time period. And unfortunately, things went awry. And in the midst of trying to save him, I had a spinal cord injury and lost my mobility. And so when I was transitioning out of the military, I wanted to continue serving my community in the mental health field, but it's kind of hard to do that with a TBI and I was utilizing a wheelchair. Things are very different nowadays in terms of accessibility. So I did some clinical work, but I found that it was more my strength to help develop programs. And when you start developing programs, well, then you got to fund them. And I accidentally fell into fundraising more as an advocacy measure. And so that's kind of where my journey took me. And now I'm with Angels, and as a wounded veteran, it gives me that opportunity to continue to follow through with that and honor my fallen brothers and sisters by supporting their children.
Wonderful mission. Inspiring story. You've actually rehabilitated yourself back to running. Right?
Yeah, proof. not well enough. I
never had a spinal injury, and I still fall down. So that's and so you guys have a lot in common when it comes to that mental health, supporting others, developing kinship, supporting the children, and specifically you, Karen, supporting the children of our fallen military veterans and firefighters and police officers and first responders. Excellent thing. By the way, your mission was founded 8 years ago.
Right.
By Colonel Joe Lewis. I'll always remember that name. The fighter, the boxer back, was it Detroit, I believe he's from?
Yeah. I'm from Detroit too, so I kind of love the name too.
and I know he's had a spinal cord injury and as well, a broken back or something. He served in just about every branch of the military there is, and jumped out of planes and taught people, and I can't remember the whole bio thing, but it was a pretty cool story. So thank you here. So that's our goal, is to when you guys are starting out and you're in Rose's shoes, and we're going to help you get in just a few short years to be in Karen's shoes and be working for, have a staff working for you that are paid, that are professionals. And we're going to just get in and dive into all this fun stuff today.
Right.
Rose, let's go back to some of your questions you had about founding your nonprofit. I know one of the questions, you are still filing your paperwork for the 501c3 with the federal government. And we're gonna talk about that. I was hoping to get a guest speaker on here that is an expert on that paperwork. I am not. I've done it one time for a small nonprofit many years ago, and it was more to help them, and because that's above my pay grade, quite not in my wheelhouse. But and maybe Karen, you can jump in on this. You formed your state corporation, right?
Yes. In
And
2019.
And it's been now, but then, life happens and you haven't got the 501c3 done yet, right? So you're in that process right now.
Yeah.
Karen, have you ever been in that founding position and have a little experience with that paperwork?
Yeah, I mean, the beautiful thing is I would certainly suggest reaching out to others in your area that have already done it. We, when we were doing one not too long ago, looking at the articles of Confederation or whatever those articles are, I should know that.
Corporation, that's
corporation.
Corporation.
That was a little bit burdensome, but what we found is there were wonderful examples out there that we just needed to fine tune. We recruited a lawyer that did some pro bono work for us, and he also had some experience incorporating for nonprofits. And so we did the bulk of the work, kind of cut and paste and modified, and then took it to him, and he cleaned those up for us. So nice. There's a lot of folks that are in the legal profession that their firms say you have to do so much pro bono work. So find somebody that your mission, which is an amazing mission, it's going to resonate with folks.
Thank you.
Oh, certainly. And so, that's what I would suggest is find that lawyer. You're going to need somebody of that caliber on your board anyways, even if they serve for the first year, and help you set that precedence. I would say definitely reach out now and let them help you. Don't try to recreate the wheel. The wheel's been created. You just have to modify it.
Okay, I'm all for making it easier.
Great advice, Karen. Thank you. I want to welcome some of the members that have been chatting, typing in our comment section. Jen Nemo just posted in there. Hello, Jen. Let us know where you're from. She says, do you ever host a nonprofit videos for those like me who want to create a nonprofit? Well, here we go. We're doing it for you right now. Mark Webb, my son, and he's kind of the president of nonprofit campaigns, posted our hashtag of the day, fundraising success. Thank you, Mark. Others that are in this room right now, go ahead and do that. Post hashtag fundraising success. Tell us who you are. We also have Rabindra Jathim, I messed that all up, Rabindra, sorry. But she is from Canada, Ontario, and in the research stage of starting a nonprofit. All tips and direction appreciated. You got it. We're in that journey right now. There's another Facebook user that popped in, says fundraising success with that hashtag today. Thank you for posting that. By the way, if you are watching in Facebook from on this we stream from StreamYard, and unless you go in there and click a button there, it will you're just going to pop up as Facebook user. So welcome, Facebook user. Tell us who you are. Let us know your name and your nonprofit and where you're at. All right. Jumping back to this discussion, Karen just gave some great advice, and I want to expand on that a little bit. And that is, if you are thinking about founding a nonprofit organization, first of all, go out and meet everybody in your area and in the nation and anybody you can think of that is doing something similar. God knows a lot of people found nonprofit organizations, and for whatever reason, years ago, I mean, the stats of how many people that just stop filing their 990 forms every year is staggering. And so I always suggest you go out, meet with those people that are providing services in that area, develop relationships with them, find out. There might be, rather than starting your own nonprofit, you might want to collaborate with one of these and bring programs into one of these nonprofits. I was talking to another development consultant we work with, and she said there were she talked to a lady who wants to start 4 nonprofits. And I said, my gosh, that's 4, we were talking, and that's four different boards of directors and 4 different articles of incorporation and 4. So why don't you just form one nonprofit that's going to do 4 programs? And, they're all probably similar missions. So very important. Go out and meet with everybody in your community and meet with folks that are abroad. If you decide after you meet with all these people that you still want to found your own nonprofit, you've now found the niche that is going to be where you can go in and fit and provide services that others are not providing in your area. I know, Karen, you collaborate with other nonprofits in your area a lot, and I encourage that.
Yeah, we really do. And it's so important. I think there's a lot of space and we have a land of abundance. However, if folks are already doing your mission, then just join with them and do that. When Joe was sitting on the sidelines of a soccer field and he was wondering what was happening for his friend who passed away, another pilot, what's going on with his kids, who's thrown a ball for his kids. And it clicked that was what he wanted to do. He wanted to encourage kids to do healthy activities to build resiliency. So then he had to research and find out who's doing this. So we have TAPS, which is an amazing organization that already wraps amazing grief support, bereavement support around the families at the time of loss. They do grief camps. They do some ongoing work. There's others that do wonderful scholarships for the kids, but who's keeping them alive from the time of loss until they reach college? And that's where we come in. And so we collaborate with all of those groups. We get if the kids want to go to college, we get them ready for that scholarship process. If they want to go to grief camp, sometimes we'll help fund that and collaborate with those groups. But on the day-to-day, we're with them on their journey from the time of loss until they reach adulthood, whatever that means for every individual. But we had to realize that, and we have to keep our focus narrow. That's the other thing. You're going to find that you're going to have this mission creep, or you're going to have board of directors that go, oh, we should be doing this, or we should be doing that. It's like, oh, no. We do this because we do this.
Your lane.
Yep. And we collaborate with others that do their mission amazingly. It's so important to do that and to do the research. And if you can just work with a nonprofit that's already doing their thing, enhance their programs, they're already founded, they're already doing great things. And if not, and if you really do have that niche, sometimes you can use them as a fiscal sponsor, come under their umbrella initially, and then branch off as you grow.
Excellent. Thank you for talking about your organization and how you are collaborating. Rose, let's go back to some of your questions that you have as a founder. We talked about paperwork.
Yeah.
And collaboration with other nonprofits. What else do you want to ask us today?
Well, what came to me is that Karen, just spontaneously, Karen, you mentioned about these lawyers and that it would be great to have when building a board of directors. It's great to have some of them present. So, I'm curious about where one, would go to sort of network with these individuals. I know that you mentioned going to, my local community and, exploring there and who's doing what I'm doing. But to some degree, I've done that, but focused on, okay, I need XYZ board of director, in this case, a lawyer. How do I focus on that and pursue that avenue? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and thank you. I got some notes here from our previous discussion to help that, and I'm sure Karen has some things she wants to jump in that with as well. One of the things, in fact, you emailed me this. One of the things that's really important to start off with is a job description for board of directors, board members before you go out and recruit them. I happen to have a sample I will send you guys after. If anybody else in the room would like a copy of a sample board member position description, type hashtag fundraising success in the comments and let me know how I can reach you, and we will email you a copy of that as well. Really important to set the stage and the expectations, in my opinion, before we go out recruiting people. Now let's talk about recruiting board members for a minute. The average size nonprofit board in the United States is something about 15, 16 board members. The requirement is 3, right? For the federal government, you need to have a secretary, a treasurer, and the, I guess, a president. And then and I'll tell you, most of the time when we found a nonprofit organization, we go out and we find our friends, we find the people that are our buddies, and those become, it might be our family, and those become the people that are new board members. And I don't, and I call that, okay, that's your startup. That's not your real board. That's your startup board. That's your family. That's what you put on a piece of paper to be legal. And perhaps maybe, the federal government should require more board members. But then after you get that done, then you got to go out and now you're recruiting a board of directors. You satisfied the government. Let's go out and recruit a diverse group of people that are passionate about your organization. And yes, you want to get lawyers, you want to get CPAs, you want to get your banker involved. I encourage people to go. I mean, you're going to have you've got relationships right now with a financial planner, perhaps. You've got relationships with a lawyer. They may or may not have experience with nonprofits. Everybody has a banker, and your nonprofit's got to set up a bank account with a bank. So sit down with that banker. I always say, don't go out and ask them immediately to be on your board. It's all about developing that relationship with these people. You might not want them on your board after you get to know them. It really is important to develop the relationship with these people before we go out and get them. And then, I'm going to make a couple of comments here, and it's on my head, and then turn it over to for Karen's comments. But when it comes to developing a board, it's important at the very beginning to develop what we call a culture of philanthropy. A culture of philanthropy, and this needs to come from the board chair, not necessarily the executive director or the founder, and it needs to be ingrained. And it's just something, fundraising is something we do. And this is being passionate about this organization is just what we all do here. And those are organizations that want to develop relationships for the long-term health of the donor and the organization versus what we call a culture of charity, where we look at fundraising as a transaction and somebody sends us, okay, I got another donation, great. It's what we do with those first donations and take them down the road and develop that relationship. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit, and we'll get out the pyramid of giving and all that fun stuff and share it with you guys. Karen, go ahead and jump in there and tell me us your thoughts.
Yeah. I think being a good networker. So as an executive director, you have to be a good storyteller because you're the voice of the people you serve. You have to be a good fundraiser. That might not come naturally. And there's ways to hone that skill. But you also have to be a great networker. And if you don't have those skills, that's okay. But you need to build the team around you that does. And I'm glad that you mentioned the culture of philanthropy. I think that every nonprofit, they do this down the road, and I think they should do it from more the beginning. When you're starting a business, you go out and do a business plan. You do a business strategy plan, a development plan for your business. But I think a lot of startup nonprofits forget to do a development plan, and that really is a business plan for, where are we going? We're here, but we want to be here. And then we're forecasting to here. And it starts to give you the ability to kind of look at your bandwidth and kind of chunk things out. But before you even do that, you have to decide, what is your culture of philanthropy? One of our tenets in our culture of philanthropy is that we are relational and not transactional. And I think that it's what Joe and Shelley, our founders, built the nonprofit on. It was heart and it was relationships. When Joe started, he did not know anything about nonprofits. And that's so true of most veteran service organizations. We bring in, great leadership, but we don't know what to do with it. So he ended up going back to school, and one of his first mentors was his professor, and he put him on the board so that he had great guidance. And it was because Joe is so good at building relationships that his professor was like, yeah, I'll become a board member. And who knew? And that was a game changer for him, because it was no longer, and it still is a little bit, and I love our board. But, there's a couple guys that have served with him, 8 years ago or much longer, but that have been along on this journey. But really, you have to decide, what is your culture of philanthropy? And there's great resources. I'm sure Rob has some amazing ideas on that, but that's our first tenet. very first sentence in there is that we are relational and not transactional. And then when it comes to the networking piece, it's really just about getting out there. What is your personal brand? Are you on social media, and who are you reaching? You can start to enhance that, but the world is opening back up. Go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, go to your Rotary meetings, go to Kiwanis, go to your community service group. They want to serve. You have a whole room full of people in Kiwanis and in Rotary that want to serve. They might not be the right people, but they will know the people that you need. And so it's all about connecting the dots.
Got it.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I want to add a couple of those things. A couple of weeks ago, we did a live forum on just that subject, and that is nonprofit fundraising and service clubs, and what's the importance of joining a service club. And it's really important that we join a service club to give back to our community, not to get something for us. It's people, we've got to be transparent, and if people want to know that you care before they care what you know, I guess is one of the old sayings. And so, yes, I know you're a Rotarian, Karen. I'm a past Kiwanis president and a past Chamber of Commerce president. The Chamber is also an important place to go and network. But there's Lions clubs, there's Seroptimus clubs and Optimus clubs, and all of these service clubs also have programs for youth. And Rotaract, I believe, is the high school program for Rotary, and Key Club for Kiwanis, and Lions have their thing that they're doing. And all of these, there was an old saying once years ago that Rotary owns the town, Kiwanis runs the town, and Lions have all the fun. I don't know, Rotary and Kiwanis move around, and take that spot in that saying, depending on the town you're in, but the Lions are always the one having the fun. Find the group that works for you. Here on Maui, we are blessed to have, I was just so excited when I moved here. We have like a half a dozen Rotary clubs and Kiwanis clubs and service clubs, all for an island of 150,000-ish residents. We have got more service clubs than I've ever seen. And it back in the day, every business leader was a member of these clubs. They're not as popular, but we need these clubs. We need these things. And if you're a new nonprofit, go out and be a guest speaker at every one of these clubs and tell them your story. Tell them, boy, you're going to develop your elevator pitch good after a while with these going around and telling your story to all these different organizations. They're looking for weekly guest speakers. And it gives you a chance to see, oh my gosh, this is the group I want to join. Some groups are fun. Some groups are, we had the Ray Hamada, who was a guest a couple of weeks ago, was talking about his Kiwanis club gives people wet napkins. So when I went to visit his Bellflower Rotary Club, Bellflower Kiwanis Club many years ago, first thing they did is they had me sit on a wet napkin. Everybody's laughing. Okay. There's it's got to be fun and get involved. And I love some of the comments that are going here. I'm going to go back to some of the people in the comment section. Love Augustine, put in hashtag fundraising success. Rabindra, I'm getting better at saying her name, also posted that and gave us an email that we'll follow up with you, Rabindra, and giving you that board of directors job description. If anybody else wants that board of directors job description, you want me to send it to you, go into the comments, put that hashtag in there, fundraising success. Rabindra also said, what degree do you recommend as a founder? And I think that goes back to your comments about Joe Lewis, Colonel Joe, going back to college. And I don't know that there is a specific degree that we need, but what did Joe do? He went back to certificate programs, right?
He really did. So he took every certificate program that the university offered. And for him, that was a much more efficient route. I mean, he was already a pilot. He had his degree. In terms of degrees, I don't know that it's necessary. I guess it depends on, if you're, part of Mental Health Center of Denver, we have a doctor who's our ED, and we have a chief medical officer. But reality is a degree is something on paper. you need to surround yourself with the knowledge that you need and go seek it. There are some degrees in nonprofit management for sure. I don't hang my hat on any degree. I mean, my pathway was a little different in the universe, though. You know, back in the day, going to school utilizing a wheelchair, things were not accessible. So my pathway was very different. I did want to make mention that almost every state has a nonprofit association.
Yes.
And there are amazing resources and mentorship programs. Do deep dives. It's a great way to network as well. Ours, we have breakouts for financial. So our CFOs all get together from all walks of life and all different types of nonprofits to talk about best practices. They do that once a month. We have a volunteer breakout that gets together once a month. We have executive director breakouts. We have, guest speakers that will come in and talk about how do you set up your paperwork to, so reach out, look at what your state offers. Rob is going to be a wealth of information as well.
It so happens that we have created online training courses for just this purpose.
There you
And
go.
we will talk about those in a little bit. And in addition to the state, usually it's the attorney general that has something kind of resources for your state, but you also have other nonprofit partnership type organizations. That is the association of all the nonprofits in your area. I used to be a trainer and consultant with the Long Beach Nonprofit Partnership. And every town has one, community or county or whatever. There's a group of people research that, get the information from your attorney general. That's more focused on the laws and preventing fraud, which is something we should talk about in a little bit too. We got a lot of stuff to talk about here on board development. I'll lead with one thing or finish off with one thing. Danya Webb, our consultant in here with a lot of people with Webb names in this nonprofit campaigns company here. Danya went back and got her master's degree from nonprofit fundraising and philanthropy, I think was the name of the degree, from Bay Path College. And when we were putting together our signature training course, Intro to High Impact Campaigns, a guide to prepare for success, she just said universities are not teaching this stuff. This is stuff we learned as YMCA professionals. YMCA did a really good job of developing that culture of philanthropy, and everybody in the organization, we fundraise every year. We tell the story, and we have a good time, and we've got a process that we've in our course that makes it manageable and fun. It just so happens our course is a sample of a $100,000 annual campaign that is volunteer led, staff managed, and engages your board members, getting them excited in fundraising. I know that's kind of the next step for you, Karen. Rose, I got a couple more things that I want to talk about. Shoot me some more questions.
Well, just
on your list that I missed.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I want to kind of touch, if it's okay. Robindra asked about nonprofit globally, right?
Did I miss that? Oh, she did. Thank you. Go ahead. Keep going.
Sure. And so what it sparked for me was a curiosity in that too, because I know I do a lot of traveling myself, and most of my organizational work is online. And we will go in person at some point, but I'm curious to know how we cross borders like that, and if there's some framework or understanding I need to have about that as I'm building.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as far as there is no global that I'm aware of, any global registration for nonprofits. It's all done by countries and of course state corporations. And I always say the state that you're headquartered in and operating from, it's important to obviously be registered in that state. Some people think, oh gosh, but I want to raise money in 50 states. You don't have to register in all 50 states if you're headquartered there. Yes, you need to be registered there. Mm-hmm. And I know, Karen, you're going to be you're focusing on growth right now and sustainability. You're focusing on developing chapters all over the United States. One of the things I will just pop in real quick that Willard St. John in the chat room says, I doubt a degree is important. Some management and entrepreneurial experience is much more important, I believe. Absolutely right. Being a founder of a nonprofit is more like being an entrepreneur in a small business than it is. Nonprofits are businesses at the end of the day. So thank you, Willard, for that for that feedback. Where was I?
Rorinda, well, no, you addressed that question already, but I'm trying to find my own questions that I wrote.
Well, I got one of them that we talked about. And,
okay.
and that was board giving. And then we got to talk about fundraising more.
Yeah.
One of the things, it goes back to that setting the expectation of the board of directors. And a lot of organizations in their job description will say, we all give $1,000 a year, or we all give $500 a year, or $5,000, or whatever that may. They will set minimums. And I highly recommend that you do not set minimums for your board members. Minimums become maximums. But what we are encouraging, and this needs to come from the board members, from the board chair, not the executive director. You're coaching and pumping that guy up, and he's the person out there that's the mouthpiece to the board, and you're the support person in the background. That I forgot. I went in my ADD mode and forgot what I was saying. That is, so I do this, by the way, when I talk, and I go into what I call shark attack mode, and my eyes roll back into my head. And when I come back out, I'm like, did anybody get hurt? Don't set minimums. Minimums become maximums.
Got it.
Any other good advice you have on this? And we're going to dive more into fundraising or development.
I think the old adage of give, get, or get out is harsh. I do believe I hate that. I hate when people say that, and you'll hear this over and over again. When you're formulating your board, and this may be, whatever stage of maturation your organization is in, but at some point you need board representation of the population you're serving. And if you do have minimums, so I'm going to talk down the minimums. Actually, if you have minimums, you may end up having somebody on your board that feels uncomfortable. My thing is we challenge our board to make connections and to network for us. I have a development chair who serves on the board, and I think that's super important. She and I work in tandem, and then she also gives coaching to the board chair. And it's more about how can you help us find the resources we need. Now, we do want every board member to donate, because grants and grantors, there's oftentimes a question that says, do 100% of your board members contribute financially? And they'll put it in that term because donate means something different to everybody, because some people feel like I'm donating my time. You have time, talent, treasure, right? But they do want to know that your board members are as invested in this as, how are they going to invest if your board members are not? But for instance, when I was we serve widows who have no income initially. So many of our widows, and it's such a misnomer, they think, oh, they're set for life. That is so not true. So now we have widows whose breadwinner is, gone. Well, I'm not going to set a minimum for a widow who, just does not have the financial ability. If you're serving people who are marginalized and who are lower income, how do you set a minimum? But you do have to do an ask at some point, or your board chair, maybe with some coaching, needs to do that ask, so that you can check that box. But more importantly, and I kind of hate that box. More importantly, how are we encouraging our board to find the resources you need? And resources can be a number of things. It doesn't just have to be money.
Yeah.
Excellent comments. Thank you. I remembered what I was going to go in and say earlier, which is rather than set a minimum, we try to encourage nonprofits and once again, led by the board chairman, to encourage everybody on the board to give a gift that's meaningful to them. While $5,000 is meaningful to one person, $50 is meaningful to somebody else. And we also encourage, and this is what we train in that online training course that's on our website, Intro to High Impact Campaigns, that we want to encourage people to give monthly gifts, make a pledge at the beginning of the year. Somebody that may want to just give $100 at the beginning of the year. If they make a pledge of $1,000, down the road, that can be paid off over the year. And and that's really important. I want to bring up a couple of slides, and I need to get into a different screen here to do that. Some of you guys that have been in our group for a minute, you have seen some of these things, so bear with us. But I find repeating ourselves a lot has a lot to do with it. This is a pie chart of charitable, where charitable dollars come from in the United States. Now, this is an older slide, and I'm happy to announce that during 2020, there was just a survey that was recently sent out by Giving USA, I believe, is the source that does this every year. I'm happy to announce that contributions to nonprofits during 2020, actually during the pandemic, actually went up 5.1%. The biggest group that went up is, of course, individuals. And if you look at the individuals in the red and the bequests over here on the other side, that 8%, that makes about 80. Those are all individuals, right? And so that makes up about 80% of where your nonprofit funds should be coming from. Foundations really stepped up to the plate this year. The foundation dollars went up. The corporation dollars, unexpectedly went down during 2020, right? So, and so many people focus on corporations, and that's my thing. And other organizations, they're overly reliant on foundations and writing grants. And then let's talk about special events. While special events are out there, they're reaching that 80% of people, but now you can also become over reliant on special event funding. And Karen is smiling and nodding her head. She knows right where I'm going with this. Let's talk about you just finished a gala.
Yeah, so I think every nonprofit now has their pandemic story, just kind of like every nonprofit had their bubble burst story. And so our story, I came on board officially full time with them in February. We had our gala. And then while we were in that receiving line, I turned to one of our board members and I said, "Hey, have you heard about this coronavirus thing? This is the middle of our gala." And the very next week, everything shut down. So when they brought me in as a fundraising professional that, is adept at making these audacious development strategy. And then the world shut down. So we really had to pivot. So initially our gala was 50% of our income, our revenue. And that's a horrible place to be. And
we recommend that, that no more than a third of your revenue should come from any one source of income.
Absolutely. And so that's why they brought me sustainability. How can we sustain? Joe will tell you, I'm not going to be around forever. I want to retire, but I want my nonprofit to outlive me. And so it needs to be sustainable. And he's brilliant. You would love his heart.
You are preaching my story, because we have a thing and with nonprofits called founder syndrome.
Yes.
And the hardest thing for some nonprofit founders to do is to turn the baby over to a babysitter.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have in our strategy that if another nonprofit were to come to us, like we partner with Gary Sinise and we adore him. And I always put this out to the universe. If he were to come by and adopt us, we would go under his umbrella, because his reach is so much more impactful than ours. We do something he doesn't do, and we augment that. So he gives us funding, but we're humble enough to know that what they do is so much greater than what we can possibly do. We're a drop in the bucket compared to them. So, but going back to the event, so they were like, should we hire a development director or should we hire an event planner? And so they went development director, and guess what I got to be? An event planner. And so but
you produce a lot of events.
We really
the last gala, your June gala, which was a hybrid event, meaning it was part in person and part online, virtual, and we do offer a virtual campaign component called FunDuel here at Nonprofit Campaigns. Now, I want to go over some of the numbers that you had told us. It raised $407,000 for your June gala that you just did. You had 582 people in person, which you were one of the first special events in your area, I believe, to come back to an in-person thing. You were really kind of rolling the dice on that one, huh?
We really were. We sold out our gala 3 times because every couple weeks our cap of how many people could be in the room kept increasing. So it was a really bizarre way to try to figure out, every 2 weeks we had to repivot. And then we had another 300 households tune in to our live cast. And it was great. So, but now, we increased our gala revenue by $82,000 this year. And guess what? We're now event heavy again. But we had to look at what are our strengths and kind of go with it. But we'll start to shift that. So now we'll hopefully be at about 40% versus 50%. But for an organization that was incredibly event heavy, this was a scary year. So what we had to do is really reassess. We went back to number 1, and that number 1 tenet is we are relational, not transactional. And we revisited our small businesses. We revisited our corporate sponsors. We revisited our donors that wanted to still give, but didn't know how. And we empowered them to do events for us in different ways. So we had a number of virtual events. We had Jersey Mike's, who's an incredible sponsor. They did a month of giving, and we ended up with $62,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And 2 years ago, it was only $25,000. Last year it was $4,000. This was $62,000. And that wasn't even in my projections. But guess what? That's, it's an event.
You are in the process right now of normalizing that your pie, so to speak, and improve on individual giving in other ways. One of the things you want to do, and I'm going to go to another slide here real quick because we are running out of time. I'm having so much fun. We might have to go over an hour. This is what we call the pyramid of giving. And once again, some of you guys have been in my room for a minute, but this group for a while. You've seen this before, but it's important to note. There's a lot of ways for people to enter this pyramid down at the bottom, and we need to be doing all of them. Online giving, social media giving, with all your Facebook and Instagram and having a platform set up in there. Direct mail campaigns, my gosh, they are old school, but very still important. A lot of those older donors like to write checks, and they like that direct mail thing. Benefits and special events, I think we've talked to death. Though I believe a nonprofit shouldn't be doing more than 2 special events a year, and that doesn't include events other people are holding on your behalf. And then, of course, our online training course, I'll mention again at the end of this broadcast, that is what we call, that's kind of the top of that annual giving pyramid, where we get a group of volunteers that are leading the campaign. Staff are running the campaign. And it's a campaign where we try to get all the board members, all the volunteers, and recruit your Rotary friends and your Kiwanis friends and everybody you can think of to be a campaigner, and go out and tell their personal story of why they support your organization, and ask others to join at their level of giving. It's really important. If I'm giving $1,000, it's hard for me to go out and ask somebody else for $10,000 and join me at that level of giving, right? And of course, at the top of that, I'll go into major giving in a little bit, and we talk about capital campaigns and special campaigns. We believe that almost all fundraising tasks should be structured as a campaign with specific goals and measurable results. About the only thing I can think that doesn't make sense in that is grant writing, what we call the foundation giving and writing grants. I can't figure out how to make that a campaign, but everything else in here should be structured as a campaign. And then, of course, the end of the day, that biggest growing segment is bequests and planned gifts. And I know, Karen, that's something that you want to get into more. One of the things I suggest every nonprofit has what we call an endowment recognition society or a planned giving recognition society. I see comments in groups all the time from nonprofits saying, oh, somebody wants to leave us in our will. What do I do? Well, let's set up that committee ahead of time that's chaired by a board member, but includes financial planners in your community and those lawyers in your community. Those people don't necessarily have to be board members. They could be future board members. But folks that can give input from those that are experts in that financial planning area. This is huge, and you want to get ahead of the curve. I believe that we should be setting a recognition society that at least meets physically once a year, and you can join that by making a cash gift or a gift of your stock or a gift of in state, or maybe it's cryptocurrency or whatever, all these other giving formats that are out there. We want to have a vehicle in place that we're ready to receive that before it just hits us in the face. Karen, you've got a goal of having a $5 million endowment, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we did do that. There's so many different ways you can set up an endowment. So you have to decide which way works best for you. Mm-hmm. And how do you know when you have a sustainable endowment? So our plan is, our long-term plan is to set up this $5 million piece and then draw off the interest to sustain the organization by paying salaries. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the way we're going to track. And then we can utilize all those other vehicles, such as events and individual donors and grants and such, to really work at building out the programs. Now, you're still going to, be looking at general operating and capacity building grants or capital campaign grants, if that's what you're needing. But when you have an endowment, that is sustainability right there, because again, you're just pulling off the interest to continue sustaining,
keeping that fund in perpetuity, so to speak. It'll be there forever. You can recognize donors and folks that join that, and what a wonderful legacy to give to a nonprofit. That's the fastest growing segment of contributed dollars right now. That great generation that was members of all those Rotary clubs and Kiwanis clubs and worked for many years. They're passing a lot of wealth along, and those are just happen to be the people that, if we've done our job right and developed a relationship with us, they want to support and give and leave that legacy. There's a couple of more questions that are in here, or comments. Rabindra said, can there be more than one founder? Sure, you can have as many founders as you'd like, right? That's just more people to, everybody has to have a job, so to speak, or a job description in the organization, but more, yes, get together with your friends and founders. Love Augustine says, wow, impressive. And Rabindra also came in and commented, how to run a successful campaign? ? Can you email the pyramid of giving? Yes, I will email the pyramid of giving. I will email the pie chart. We have 5 minutes left, and somebody is calling me, and we're going to hit that button and make that go away. I want to take a few minutes to do a commercial, if I will. And we have talked about that. We at Nonprofit Campaigns, our initial course, we got like 12 courses now on our website. We're going to be talking about those more next week. But let's see, where am I? We have a course that is called Intro to High Impact Campaigns. This is the name of the course, right? Intro to High Impact Campaigns, a guide to prepare for success. And there is what this is what we call a high impact campaign, right? High impact, able to affect or influence someone or something in a powerful way. And of course, the campaign, an organized course of action to achieve a particular goal. And we offer this for $199 on our website, but Mark and I got together this morning and we decided we are right now in the process of relaunching this course. And and we said, hey, you know what? We got this course on our website. It's been around for a while. Let's promote that a little bit. So if you are watching this today, it is now, we're going to take $100 off. And this now course is now, it is about 2 hours of video. It's in part 1 and 2. Part 1 talks about preparing and getting ready, prepare for that successful campaign. In part 2 of the course talks about actually implementing that campaign and includes job descriptions and how to set up your report meetings and how everybody goes out and recruits. And ultimately we take a 1-month time frame and we got this big cadre of volunteers and we announce it in the newspaper and announce it in everywhere that these volunteers will be out in the community and promoting it a little bit, and everybody we try to make that so everybody nobody's overwhelmed. We break those duties up amongst everybody in the team, and that is our promotion for the day. Go in there and you have to say, and you can go to our website nonprofitcampaigns.com, purchase the course. We are relaunching this course, and I'm going to tell everybody a secret. If you buy the course now, we will allow you to come into the relaunch of this course for free. So this summer, we're going to be relaunching this, and it's going to be a little longer. Right now, it qualifies for 1.75 CFRE points. And yes, we're proud to say that Nonprofit Campaigns is a approved provider for continuing education. And one more commercial before I come back to you guys. If you have not done so, here's where all the fun happens in Nonprofit Campaigns. Join our Nonprofit Campaigns community on Facebook. And it is facebook.com/groups/Nonprofit Campaigns community. I think I did that right. If you are not a member, jump in there, post hashtag fundraising success, introduce yourselves. We're going to be doing a post tomorrow introducing new members and asking them to introduce themselves to the group. Whew, I just went into shark attack mode there. Thank you, Rose and Karen. We're coming up. We're at an hour, man. That hour went by fast. Any last questions or comments from you guys?
You know, one of the things that you had mentioned about how do you present grants, you know, as a campaign, and we kind of do. I mean, let me see if I can share really quick. So our board wants to know when we say, you know, we have a goal of $1 million, what does that $1 million look like? And to me, it's buckets. And so this is our breakdown, or was supposed to be our breakdown for this year. And as you can see, my goal is 400,000. But when it comes to the grants, we do the same thing. This doesn't show it completely, but I break down all my grants into their own buckets, and I have pie charts on top of pie charts on top of pie charts. So it's not really a campaign, so to speak, but we approach it like a campaign because we have to have goals. If you don't have goals, how are you going to ever attain those goals? And how are you going to measure your success? So I just want to kind of comment on that. When you're making your development plan, you set those goals in your buckets, and it all starts to make sense. You have your bucket, then you can build a strategy around each of those buckets.
And I think it's really important to, like I said, the goal for annual giving is to get people out of those different buckets and get them into what we call that high impact fundraising campaign, where we're taking that direct mail donor that just wrote you a check for $100 because you sent them an appeal. Oh my gosh, how beautiful that is. You can go meet and develop a relationship with that particular donor, and that's probably going to be $1,000 gift the next time we ask them. And how do we really, that's the goal at the end of the day, right? To develop relationships with people and get them out of those passive levels of giving and get them into that active level of giving where they're developing a relationship. I think it's important to develop a relationship with board members. And that's why I believe it's important that the board members are the ones developing those relationships and going out and asking others to give. Here is a startling. We're going to go a little extra today. I hope you guys are still with me. There is a startling statistic in our industry that the average length of time on the job for a development director is something like 2 years, 16 months, I believe it was. Yeah. Little less than 2 years. The last I have now, executive directors tend to stick around a little longer. We've got to do something, folks. And usually I believe the reason development directors stick around in an organization for 1.5 years, 2 years and leave and go find another one is because they don't feel supported by their board of directors and their boss and money. Yes, they want money. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We all want money. Nonprofits are a business at the end of the day. And I begrudge no one that is working in the nonprofit industry making a good salary because you need to retain and recruit that good talent. Now, I'm not saying that you're buying helicopters and private jets and stuff like that on the nonprofit, right? But a good salary is not there's a lot of nonprofit founders out there that pride themselves on I don't take a salary, and it's like, well, why? Maybe that's the model you want, but don't none of us should all be proud to stand up and put on our 990 forms that we make a good living at what we're doing and we're darn good at our job.
Right on. And I would like to say that you both made this such a pleasant experience today, and I'm all new to this culture of nonprofit, and I hear you talking about the emphasis being on the relationships, and it's all about relationships. And I just want to say, I feel this sense of, wow, this is so encouraging. And it's just, I feel like I've found my people, if you will. So,
yay.
So thank you for that.
I'm tearing up over here. This is our mission at Nonprofit Campaigns. God called us to help as many nonprofit professionals as we can, and we all should be having fun while we're doing it, and be inspired and engage others. And so, Rose and Karen, I thank you guys so much for being on this week's show. I think we've got it. We hit the nail on the head pretty good. We could go on for another hour if we wanted.
Yeah, we could.
Please join our Nonprofit Campaigns community on Facebook. Get engaged, ask questions, type hashtag fundraising success. Tell us about yourself. Tell me if I got too much gray hair. I don't care, whatever you want to talk about. The absent-minded professor here on Nonprofit Campaigns appreciates you. So get in that community and let us know who you are. Thank you guys for joining us. We will return next week at the same bat time and the same bat channel for another edition of Nonprofit Fundraising. What is the name of this show? Nonprofit Fundraising and Board Development. Something like that. Thank you guys for being here. Great show. I will look forward to seeing you guys all next week. Aloha and have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.